She's a singer, a songwriter, evangelist, prayer warrior, author, playwright, record producer, preacher's kid, budding musician, and a friend to all she meets. Perfect Peace Ministries presents Evangelist Shannon Louise Carter.
Good morning, radio listening audience. Thank you so much for joining us once again here at the radio broadcast for the Ephesus Ministries, where we are touching lives with the love of Christ.
There are people that God has called you. I said to you all earlier, I always tend to gravitate towards older women, and one of the things that I love to do, literally, my godmother that lives in Buffalo, when we talk about sit at their feet, there are days that literally I will go to her apartment, and while she sits in her recliner, I get myself on the floor. I don't do it as much now because I can't get up as easy. But I sit on the floor at her feet, and she talks to me, and she pours into me. But you know what I realize? I'm so grateful to God and grateful to her, because much of the stuff that she pours into me, she wouldn't know it had she not lived it. Some of you, the reason you're going through the stuff that you're going through is because God says, I'm developing wisdom in you. I'm developing experiential knowledge in you that if you did not go through the process, you couldn't put it in nobody else. So what Naomi had to do was change her attention. She had to change her focus. So some of you are still stuck whining and crying and trying to be Mara. And I came to tell you, Naomi, God said, you are my delight. Change your attitude, change your focus, change your perspective. And instead of whining and crying about what you are going through, what you need to do is focus on those people coming after you. Some of you, even younger women, you think you're not old enough to pour in. But I guarantee you, when you get to work, there are women on your job. They don't have the experience of coming into the house of God and being taught the word of God. You are the only word of God they will ever experience. So now watch this. And I'm so almost finished. I'm skipping from Ruth, the first chapter. Now we're going to go to Ruth, the 4th chapter. And I'm not going through the whole story of Ruth because many of you know it. If you don't, that's your homework assignment. It's only 4 chapters. You can read it through the week. But Ruth, the 4th chapter, verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And he went in unto her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life. Some of you, God says, did the Bible not say I would restore? He would give back to you everything the cankerworm stole. You know why we can't get restoration? Because we won't have perseverance. You give up before you get it back. And the nourisher of thine old age, for thy daughter-in-law which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. God says, what you thought you lost, I've got something. It might just look different to you, but if you really look in the spirit, you see what you got was better than what you lost. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. And this is the key verse for me, and I'm almost finished. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, ready, watch this, there is a son born to Naomi. Now, who gave birth to the baby? Who birthed that child physically? Somebody tell me. Who did? Ruth gave birth to the child, but the people around said, there is a son born to Naomi. God said, if you would stop crying about what you thought you lost, if you would stop crying about what you blaming God for what he took away, God said, I'll give you more. But you know why some of you can't get more? Because you're still so busy crying over what you lost that you won't take the time to go through the process. And God says, what I have for you is better. But you know the problem? Because you won't go through the process, you don't have the character, you don't have the knowledge, and you won't have the wisdom to take care of it. Sorry, y'all, that one was for me. God said, I have better for you. I have more for you. I've got stuff for you. But if I give it to you now, you're going to mess it up. I've got to take you through some stuff. I've got to take you through some molding and some making. So women, I want to encourage you. Hold your head up. As they talked about in my bio, I said to people, God is teaching me balance. I literally thought that the loss of my mother from this physical world was going to be the end of my sanity. I remember sitting sometimes, and I won't go through the whole story. It's in the book. You can read it. I won't go through the whole story, but my girls and I had moved in with my parents to help take care of my mother. When my mother passed, I was still staying with my dad. And there were some Sunday mornings he would get up and get dressed for church. And I would look at him and I said, Daddy, I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm not going. I'm done. I'm not doing this. I was praise and worship leader at my church. I sent word to the praise team, y'all do what you do. Because all of this trying to get up and sing and shout and give everybody else to sing and shout. And I'm saying this briefly and I'm going to my seat, and I always feel redundant when I talk about this, but God says that everywhere I go, there's somebody that needs to hear it. And so through my mother's illness, my mother kept declaring, cancer is not going to take me out of here. And we grabbed her faith. And I kept saying, cancer is not going to take my mother out of here. And I remember when the doctor looked at us and said, there's nothing else we can do. This thing is beating us. And my dad still kept saying, and he talked about Hezekiah, and we went back and grabbed words from the Bible. I would go to church and I would shout all across the front of the church because I was so excited at the testimony that I was going to be able to travel with my mother and come back and say, God healed my mother from cancer and here she is. And when he didn't do it, I didn't know how to handle that. And I kept saying, God, but we had faith. I don't understand. You didn't honor our faith. And God spoke to me so clearly. He said, Shannon, you got it all twisted. Faith is never about what you are believing me for. But when you have faith, faith in its purest sense says, God, I believe you for who you are. And there are some of you, I feel you. When I tell you I'm standing here and I can feel it here in the realm of the spirit. It may not be the loss of a loved one. I don't know what it is you're going through. But there are some of you that the enemy his plan right here and right here because you've been holding. We sang that song, Hold to His Hand. You've been holding to the hand of God, looking for him to do things, but you were expecting him to do it a different way. We really think God is Burger King. God said, you can't always have it your way. But I promise you, I'm not telling you just what I read. I'm not telling you what somebody else said. I'm telling you what I know because I've lived it. When you change your perspective and when you decide to get up, we always talk to backsliders, but sometimes it's not just for people that went back out into the world. When you get up from that hog pen of depression, when you get up from that hog pen of self-pity and say, I have nothing to do but take this back to my Father, I promise you, God will show you that what I have for you is greater than you could have ever imagined. So women, men of God, stand up. Walk in who God has called you to be. Hold your head up. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. You walk like you serve the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And when you put your feet on the floor in the morning, say to yourself out loud, this is the day that the Lord has made. And I am commanding to every bit of my soul that I will rejoice. Don't give yourself a choice. Tell yourself, I have no choice today but to rejoice. And I promise you, the enemy is going to challenge you. But I can tell you, because I've lived it, you are victorious. And when you recognize it and when you walk in it, so will the rest of the world. God bless you.
It won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning me. Sooner or later, it'll turn in your favor. It's turning around for me. It won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning me. Sooner or later, it'll turn in your favor. It's turning around for me. The doors of the church are open. It won't always be like this. I don't know who that's for. But the Lord will perfect that concerning you. Sooner or later, it'll turn in your favor. It's turning around for me.
She's a singer, a songwriter, evangelist, prayer warrior, author, playwright, record producer, preacher's kid, budding musician, and a friend to all she meets. Perfect Peace Ministries presents Evangelist Shannon.